Why did Nessie become world famous, while Bear Lake's monster was forgotten? Both were called lake serpents. Both had eyewitnesses. But one became a global tourism empire, and the other faded into local folklore. Unless, of course, you believe it's still there, hiding in the water. When people think of lake monsters, Loch Ness immediately comes to mind. The Scottish icon has books, movies, tours, even sonar studies. But here's the twist. The legend of the Bear Lake Monster in Utah and Idaho is actually older. In the summer of 1868, Mormon pioneers began reporting terrifying encounters. They claimed a serpent-like creature up to 90 feet long could drag cattle beneath the waves. Eyewitnesses said its head resembled a cow. Its body moved like a snake, and it was faster than any fish alive. One journalist, Joseph C. Rich, spread the story across the American West, describing settlers who swore they'd seen it. By the time Nessie made global headlines in the 1930s, Bear Lake had already had its monster for over 60 years. You know Nessie. But how many of you even knew America had its own Nessie first? Hit subscribe. Because cryptids like this slip away unless we keep their stories alive. So why did one legend rise and the other sink? Geography played its part. Scotland had centuries of mystique, castles, moors, and an international press ready to sensationalize. Utah in the 1860s, isolated frontier country with newspapers few and far between. Loch Ness sightings exploded just as cameras became common. Photos, even blurry, questionable ones, created a powerful visual story. Bear Lake never had that. No famous photo, no iconic surgeon's picture, just newspaper sketches and eyewitness claims. And here's where psychology kicks in. Humans are wired to trust images over words. Seeing is believing, or at least feeling. Without a photo to anchor it, Bear Lake stayed a local legend, while Nessie became a household name. Skeptics point out Joseph C. Rich later admitted to exaggerating his stories, but does that automatically erase the sightings? Let's consider the possibilities. Giant sturgeon. These ancient fish can grow longer than people realize, with ridged backs that look like humps. But sturgeon aren't native to Bear Lake. Seach waves. Lakes can form strange wave patterns, humps that seem to rise and fall. Could terrified settlers have mistaken water movement for a creature? Prehistoric survivor. This is the wild card. Could something like a relic plesiosaur or giant eel have survived in Bear Lake's cold depths? It sounds far-fetched. But remember, coelacanths were extinct for 65 million years, until they weren't. So, what were they really seeing? Fear? Nature? Or something science hasn't cataloged yet? If Bear Lake's monster was just a hoax, why hasn't it vanished? The truth is, legends live when people need them. Locals still hold festivals honoring the creature. Tourists can buy Bear Lake Monster t-shirts, stuffed toys, even themed milkshakes. Children still whisper about glowing eyes in the water at night. Fishermen still report shadows too large to be ordinary fish. Psychologists call this cultural anchoring. When a story becomes part of identity, it doesn't die, even when debunked. Instead it mutates, shifting from fear to fun, from nightmare to mascot. Folklore isn't just about monsters, it's about who we are. Subscribe now because these stories connect us in ways science alone can't explain. Here's the simple truth. Nessie had the spotlight. Media timing, photographs, tourism, all worked in its favor. Bear Lake's monster had all the same elements: eerie descriptions, terrified locals, even confessions of hoaxes. But it lacked one thing: global attention. And yet, here's the irony. If Nessie is overexposed, commercialized, a tourist caricature, then Bear Lake's monster might be purer. It remains closer to folklore, to fireside whispers, to the kind of story that makes you look at dark water and wonder, maybe that's the real reason it lingers quietly, not forgotten, just waiting. So the next time you hear about Nessie, think about the lake monster that came first. Imagine standing on the banks of Bear Lake at midnight, the water black and silent. Then, ripples, a shadow beneath the waves, and a sound. Not a roar, not a hiss, but a low, hollow bellow echoing across the valley. Absurd? Maybe? Forgotten? Never.